Now, I was talking about this idea of reparations. Well, over in the UK, climate reparations, over in the UK, the former Labour leader, Ed Miliband, I don't know if you remember him, I vaguely have a recollection of the character, and his brother, there were two of them. Anyway, Ed Miliband is suggesting that the UK must acknowledge its historical responsibility and send cash to countries hit by climate change. Anyway, let's get to the bottom of it with, as always, Esther Kraku over in London. Great to see you, Esther. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure, Esther. Now tell us, Ed Miliband, he's some Labour dude from the dark, distant past. He's back in the headlines demanding historical reparations. Now, tell us about the idea. This is the idea that we send money to, I don't know, Africa and for the sins of the colonial era of industrialization, correct?
Yeah, so if you remember Ed Miliband, I always say the fact that he never became British Prime Minister is a testament that there is indeed a God. But the idea of climate reparations, or what they want to call climate compensation now, because reparations harks back at colonialism and slavery, and it makes people with a brain very uncomfortable. They're saying that because of the effects of polluting countries, we should compensate other countries that are suffering more greatly from the effects of climate change. Unfortunately, the reality is, if that was indeed the case, because of how little, in terms of sort of on the grand scheme of things, how little Britain actually contributes to global pollution, it would be the likes of China and India and Indonesia that would be doing the bulk of the paying out. Now, I don't think the CCP will take very kindly to being told to pay climate change compensation to various countries. But this is the lunacy of people like this. One, they believe that money is going to solve all problems. We should just chuck money at the problem and it will magically solve the issue. But also, they don't realize that if they actually do implement their views, it's countries like China that will have to be paying out, the big bucks. And that's just not going to happen. China wasn't even at COP27. Actually, the top three of four most polluting countries weren't even present at this climate summit. So it's just completely ridiculous. It's complete lunacy. And I think the fact that, someone like Ed Miliband, who wanted to be prime minister of this country, is saying something like this during a cost of living crisis just shows the disconnect between our political elite and average Britons. And that's what's really infuriating everyone. It's how dare you say this to us when we're barely, getting by ourselves.
And Esther, well, Britain has already given £200 million in official development assistance to Pakistan, and that was in 2020, provided $26 million in humanitarian support following the deadly floods earlier this year. Do you think Rishi Sunak, will he bow in? Will he give in to the COP27? He already has given in once. He did the U-turn. He wasn't supposed to be going to COP27. Now he's there. Will he make the same mistake our former Prime Minister Scott Morrison made? And once you're there at COP20, whatever, you just give them whatever they want because you're too embarrassed not to.
I mean, he already has. He's promised £11 billion of our money to more climate initiatives, which begs the question, why are you making public spending cuts and raising our taxes if we have £11 billion to spare to this hopeless cause? But this is the thing, that no one voted for this, clearly, and no one would vote for this because it's complete madness that public services shouldn't be in the state that it is if we have £11 billion spare to be committing to these sorts of things. But this is the frustration, because no one's asked for it, no one is approving of it, no one's voted for this, and yet our political elite keep pushing this lunacy when the real people who should be taking responsibility for climate change and global pollution are just not even at the table. They don't care. They're getting on with business. So Exactly. It's just completely crazy.
Well, hello and welcome to another Restore Live. Restore Live going out on a Thursday evening this week. And what have we came for this evening? Well, we came to talk about the very fact that we have a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, which is more aligned, as you probably will have seen there. He's more aligned with doing things for the rest of the world than he would be for doing things for the United Kingdom. That's the people in England, Scotland, Wales, and in Northern Ireland. Now, I remember just a few weeks ago, whenever Liz Truss had made some recommendations for her budget, let's just say, going forward, and what it was that she proposed doing in the United Kingdom. Now, Liz Truss would have proposed a small tax cut to the people, a penny or a few pennies thereabouts, but still of all, a tax cut to the people. And then she would have also proposed cutting corporation tax in order that you could bring in some investment into the country. You could attract businesses, which creates employment, which puts money in people's pockets, which in turn that money spent on businesses, saving the small business fraternity here in the United Kingdom. But remember, what actually happened was that the globalists, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, well, they butted in. The Bank of England, they butted in. And well, as you've seen, they caused Liz Truss to do a complete U-turn on the policies that she was laying down and laying forward. And well, I didn't believe that Liz Truss's policies went actually far enough in order to try to create the growth which would sustain the United Kingdom on into the future. I didn't believe that she went far enough. However, it seemed as if the global masters, well, they were not going to permit Liz Truss to flourish and to have her way with the economy here in the United Kingdom, and in any attempt to try to save what we are heading for. And we are heading for a complete and utter shipwreck, a disaster, off the cliff, not just here in the United Kingdom, but around the Western world. And one could be, you could really think that these people are trying to do this. They're trying to do it. They're trying to wreck. They're trying to destroy the economy. Now, what actually happened whenever Liz Truss made her forecasts and what it was that she was going to do? Well, what happened was that the financial markets, they reacted. And they reacted in a way that, well, Liz Truss is now not the Prime Minister. And Rishi Sunak, well, he is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Now, I can remember thinking back then that there is going to come a time in the very, very near future whenever, let's say, for example, Rishi Sunak, well, he would be offering a lot of money to, say, Ukraine, the war in Ukraine. And I thought, I wonder, will the financial markets actually react to that? You know, billions of pounds going out of the exchequer in the United Kingdom to feed the Iraq war, or not the Iraq war, the Ukraine war. You know, will the financial markets react to that? And then you just heard that he was at a climate change event. Well, he says that he wasn't going. The media put pressure on him. He ended up that he did go. And when he was there, well, it seems as if that he signed the United Kingdom up to billions of pounds worth of spending in other countries around the world. And at a time whenever the United Kingdom is heading for wreck and ruin, a financial basket case, perhaps lots of small business going out of business, people not being able to, heat or eat is what the old saying is. And we see the left wing, we see the Marxists, we see the socialists. Well, that's the neo-socialist groupings. We see them lining up to cause even more problems in this country whenever we're really heading for a time when the United Kingdom will end up on their knees. Now, I know that there's nationalists come to watch this screen. I know that there's Catholics come to watch this screen. And there would be Republicans on the Twitter channel that would also watch this screen. And, well, you know, you might be sneering or sniggering and thinking, well, isn't it a good thing that the United Kingdom seems as if they're going down the tubes? But here's the thing. The Irish economy is following suit, as is the French, the Germans, right around the European Union. And in the Western world, we're all heading for this meltdown. And yet these people, your Rishi Sunaks of this world, your Micheál Martins of this world, your Leo Varadkars of this world, your Simon Coveneys of this world, well, they all seem to be following a plan which was written by this man, Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. And would you believe that these people all on this screen, they all have associations with this man in the middle. And he calls this the Great Reset. Now, watching old videos from times gone by, we notice that Rishi or let's just say we are reminded that Rishi would be proposing, would have already drawn up, would have the mechanisms in place to create a digital currency here in the United Kingdom. Rishi is the champion of that digital currency, which means that the society would go cashless, which would mean that you would be tracked in every aspect of your spending and your earning, which would mean that Big Brother would actually dictate to you what it is that you can buy, when you can buy it. Maybe you're obese, maybe they might stop you from buying fatty foods. Who knows what these people have intended when they can program this digital currency, and they can program it in a way that you will only be able to buy what it is that they would suggest. Now, they tried this out in the schools. For those of you which would have children, I mean, some of my children, we used to put some money on, well, from a card to a thumbprint and this is the way it worked. And we could actually restrict what it was that our kids were eating or drinking. No Coke for Keith, please. Fizzy Coke, of course. No Coke for Keith. It'll rot his teeth. And you can actually do that. So this seems to be the type of thing that Rishi Sunak is promoting, has drawn up, and has lined up for the people within the United Kingdom. Now, no one voted for this. Furthermore, remember, no one voted for Rishi. No one voted for this man. This man is not my prime minister. He's not your prime minister. It seemed that it pleased this man and his cronies that Rishi would take the place of Liz Truss. Now, was Liz Truss any better is the real question. Was Liz Truss any better? Well, it seems as if Liz Truss also has links to this man. But as Bennaby would have said last week, well, at least Liz Truss had a plan that seemed as if it was aimed at creating growth, creating jobs, creating money for people to spend in small businesses here, helping the United Kingdom economy really get back to the point whereby that it flourishes and it provides for the people of the United Kingdom, and not the people, and I aim at this man here, not the people of the rest of the world. I mean, have you ever heard the likes of it? Pay, reparations to other countries because of the emissions that the United Kingdom is causing, which is causing them problems. And then you have China, as you will have heard, and you have other countries like, India, these big polluters. You have these people that will not be paying anything to anyone. And this is at a time, remember, that they say that we're in a cost of living crisis. I'll tell you now that we're in a cost of everything crisis. The fuel's going through the roof. The cost of everything as a result then goes through the roof. And genuinely, people are facing the point whereby that it is either, for a lot of people, it's heating or eating or having to work very, very hard in order to make ends meet, and really having to redouble your efforts in order to stay static in terms of being able to pay your bills and having enough left at the end of the week for, well, whatever your fancy would be. Mine would be a bottle of wine, let's just say, and, well, others have different fancies. So really what we're here to talk about this evening is the hypocrisy, number one, the corruption of these people that is behind you, driven by people like this and his cronies whenever they want to create this thing called the Great Reset. And a great reset in where that ordinary people, I mean ordinary people in their millions across the globe, will actually lose their lives as a result of what it is that these people are putting forward. Now, again, back to the point that this man here, promising your money, the United Kingdom's money, to the rest of the world, and not a whimper, not one whimper from the financial markets. There's no problem there. But there was problems whenever Liz Truss wanted to give a tax cut to the ordinary people and wanted to lower the corporation tax in where you would bring in investment, create the jobs, create the money to spend in the businesses, helping save the UK internal market. But it seems as if Rishi and his cronies, well, they are hell-bent on destroying the economy of the United Kingdom. And these other figures, these other three here, from there to there, they're no worse. Simon Coveney, Leo Varadkar, Micheál Martin, here he is here. Happy to get my hands right. Micheál Martin. Well, he wants nothing to do with the backward idea of sovereignty in Ireland. So everyone across the Western world were being played for fools, absolute fools. You know, nobody voted for this. No one voted to fill our countries with uncontrolled, uncontrollable, unquantifiable, unidentifiable immigration. Nobody voted for this. But yet these people, in order to put themselves right, to have themselves registered as kingpins on the global stage, well, they are involved in destroying the fabric of our society and societies right around the Western world. So corruption is corruption, no matter where that corruption comes from, no matter where it emanates from, no matter who pushes that corruption, whether that be a British so-called prime minister that isn't elected, that never was elected, that got his job, all because it pleased people like Klaus Schwab here and his cronies. You know, this is I mean, we've went way beyond any form of normality right around the Western world. I mean, they're making decisions that is absolutely bonkers, and a child could see that their decisions are going to lead to trouble, strife, and turmoil for ordinary people. That's no matter why you're a unionist, a nationalist, a Catholic, a Protestant, no matter who you are, we're all in for a rough ride as a result of these people being paid handsomely in order to destroy your livelihood, my livelihood, the livelihoods of many businesses right around the United Kingdom, the livelihoods of many business owners in Ireland, in France, in Germany, in Italy. Well, the list goes on. The list goes on. So why does this happen? Why is this happening? Well, I blame Americans. I blame the Democrats in America, the Clintons, the Obamas of this world, the Joe Bidens of this world, and the people who are in the background manipulating them. It is for to make those people more rich. It is to give those people more control. Is exactly why things are going the way that they are. And we're going to end up with a very, very unstable society in where that, well, goodness knows what will happen in the streets whenever people start losing their businesses, losing their livelihoods. Just watch the suicide rate go through the roof as a result of the decisions that this public schoolboy with millions of pounds, as a result of his not wanting to stand up to these globalists and tell them where to go. The people of the United Kingdom, remember, they voted to leave a form of globalization in the EU dictatorial Ponzi scheme, which it is. Putting all your money in there, after so many years you want to leave and they tell you that you owe them billions of pounds. Well, that wasn't a very good investment, was it? That isn't a club that anybody wants to belong to because it's undemocratic. And we see that with our own Brexit referendum. We haven't got Brexit. The people in Northern Ireland are being held ransom. We're occupied by this EU dictator. And, well, they're trying to punish Britain, the people of the United Kingdom, for daring to leave that glorified dictatorial Ponzi scheme that is the EU. So there's where we stand today here in Northern Ireland. I mean, don't be thinking that things will come right. Don't be thinking that they're negotiating with the EU right now and we're going to maybe get a good deal at some point in the future. Don't be thinking that even if the protocol bill comes into place, there's still going to be a border, a customs and a regulatory border, slam dunk right in the middle of the United Kingdom, separating Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom and England, Scotland and Wales. And how is that acceptable whenever we, 17.4 plus people, of which Northern Ireland made up that vote, and we won that Brexit referendum, and yet we are being denied our democracy. And in fact, what's happening right now is that before Liz Truss left office, well, didn't she sign into the EU political union again? Didn't she sign up to PESCO? You know, that's the structured permanent military union with the EU. Didn't she sign back into that again? And yet the people did not vote for that. The people voted for Brexit. The people voted to leave the EU dictatorial Ponzi scheme. But, you know, as I would have written 3 months before the Brexit referendum, that Hotel California, Brussels, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Now, how true were those words? Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to get on with actually talking about some things with reference to these corrupt people behind us. I mean, we only have the illusion of democracy today whenever this man is not elected. He's not our prime minister. He was put into place because it suits the likes of this man and his cronies. So there's where we stand in the United Kingdom today. We stand that we have the illusion of democracy, and nobody voted for the things that they're pushing down your throat, my throat, and everybody else's throat. Nobody voted for that. No one in the United Kingdom voted for uncontrolled, uncontrollable, unquantifiable, unidentifiable immigration to the point whereby that the services are being overburdened, that the cost, look, the welfare state is being overburdened. You know, everything's being overburdened. The cost of properties going through the roof because there's huge demand for the property right now, right across the United Kingdom and in Ireland. And who's causing it? Well, it is our own governments that is causing it. It is the people that we task to protect and to defend the citizens of the entire United Kingdom. Well, they're not doing a very good job, and they're certainly not doing it in my name. Good to see you, Simon. There's a good friend of mine just popped up on the screen. Yeah, if you're hanging around, just give us a wee indication, and if you would maybe like to come on and have a wee chat after I deliver about 15 minutes of this here, you'd be very, very welcome to come on and have a little chat. And I hope you like the rant so far, because it has got to the point whereby rant is what's actually needed, Simon. So as we move, what I want to do is that I want to play a little video here of something that we gained from Ben Habib actually just last week. Now, something that we gained was, well, it was gold. It was a little bit of gold, and many, many people has actually said that. Now, we never, ever would have had the chance to know this. And this really tells a tale with reference to what's happening in the Brexit process. That tells a tale with reference, are the British government, is Rishi and his government, are they actually wanting to solve the problem with Northern Ireland and with this protocol, with this constitutional changing EU protocol? Are they wanting to break us away from this claw of the EU dictatorial Ponzi scheme? Well, let's play a couple of videos. And what we want to try to do is that we want to try to show you what it is that we got out of our talk with Ben Habib actually last week.
The way I see it, there are two things I think going on, John. The first is that these globe-trotting senior politicians don't draw their personal validation from the people that elect them. They validate themselves by the company they keep on the global stage. So Boris Johnson, who, by the way, is not a Brexiteer either in my book, he's another globalist, got great succor from G7 meetings, from being in Davos, meeting all these other people he regarded as his intellectual equal. And he wanted to sidle up to them. And there's a natural desire amongst them to do that. That's one thing. Then the other force at play here is that they have a contempt for democracy, because they think that state intervention works, that the state thinks better than the average individual, the state will spend the money better. The Conservative Party is no longer conservative. It doesn't believe in a small state and low taxes. It believes, and Rishi Sunak is perhaps the best example of it, that they know it all and the people need to fall into place and they will do our thinking for us. I go to GB News studios quite a lot.
So just to stop you there, I mean, there's Ben Habib actually spilling the beans on Rishi Sunak just last week. and really suggesting that they don't listen to the people. They don't want to listen to the people. The people never voted for the things that they're pushing down our throats. They never voted for the immigration. They never voted for to be taken back into the EU via courtesy of Liz Truss signing back into Emmanuel Macron's EU political union and the PESCO, the permanent structured military union with the EU. The people never voted for that, but they think they know best. And there's Ben Habib just actually confirming that. And this is a man who is close to the goings on in and around the Westminster bubble, let's just say. And we want to listen on to Ben here before that we go to another short video clip. And what we want to do is that we want to then, at the end of this, you'll hear a little clip from Margaret Thatcher and how that it was that Margaret Thatcher was the complete opposite of what it is that the Conservative Party, the so-called Conservative Party, have now become in 2022. So playing on with Ben, and this is only a short clip, we'll move to another clip and then we'll move on and we'll talk some more.
You know, as you may or may not be aware. And when I exit Paddington Station, there's a small staircase that I have to go up. On each, it's a very narrow tread, by the way. It's like 6 inches. Every step on that tread has something like, don't take more than 1 step at a time, take the lift, don't read your phone, as you walk up steps. We've reached a stage where the state is telling us how to navigate a staircase. What the hell has gone wrong with personal responsibility? And this is fundamentally undemocratic. When the state is thinking for you, down to how you navigate a staircase, it has stripped you of all personal agency. It's stripped you of the inability to think and act on your own. And what is that if that is not the fundamental undermining of democracy? They want a highly regulated, highly taxed society. They get the money in the Exchequer's coffers, and then they can decide what they do with the money because they know best. And before I finish, I'm just going to say Rishi Sunak is the worst. He was at Winchester College. He's privileged. He's rich. Oxford University, Stanford, Goldman Sachs. If you watch the leadership contest, it was, I know this. I know how to address detail. I know how to get across the detail. I know what's good for the nation. I know how to solve the problems. He couldn't give a damn about democracy. He thinks he knows it.
The essence of socialism is that you surrender quite a bit of power over your own life to the state. Well, we all do that to some extent, but of course it went much further. You pay very high taxes, and they wish to take even higher taxes because they think that politicians can spend money better than the people can spend it. The more you take away, the less there is for private industry, and that's where the creation of wealth comes. So you have to establish very clear limits on the role of government. And really, politicians, I think, should sometimes just be a little bit more modest about their abilities than they are. We can't run everything, and we shouldn't try. I believe that we were going towards a way of life in which people were constantly looking to the state to solve their problems and to do things for them. When the state does everything for you, it'll soon take everything from you. You will then have no basis for personal freedom, political freedom, nor economic freedom.
It's like that. And I've never seen that clip before, by the way, John. But I mean, she said it absolutely brilliantly, much more succinctly than I could. She's spot on, absolutely spot on.
So there we go. So there we're 1 week on from having chatted to Ben Habib, and isn't it apt, let's just say, that we were talking about Rishi Sunak, we were talking about the economics of the entire situation, and here we find ourselves just 1 week in, and Rishi has jetted off across the world and is giving the United Kingdom's money away as if there is no tomorrow and out of time whenever the United Kingdom could be doing with that money themselves. So there's the economics of Rishi Sunak, and as Ben Habib would have said, that he doesn't give a toss about democracy. He thinks that he knows best, and there we have it. This is the man who wasn't elected, who isn't my Prime Minister, and well, he's not anybody else's Prime Minister because he's there at the behest of this man and his cronies. So moving on, what we want to do now is that we want to move to the next little clip. Now, this is something, again, from what it was that we done with Ben Habib last week. Now, I want people to listen very, very carefully to this, because in this short clip, what you will learn the real intentions of the Conservative government with reference Brexit. So anybody that is hoping for a better tomorrow with reference the protocol having been removed and Northern Ireland being placed back into the United Kingdom as a fully fledged member of the United Kingdom, well, if it's down to these people, that isn't going to happen. And the reason why these other three stooges are on the stream tonight, here they are, these two, and this one, you have to move your hands opposite way. So Leo Varadkar, Simon Coveney, Micheál Martin, the reason why they're on is because they're all pals. They're all under that banner there, that banner in the middle with him and his cronies. So whilst that they pretend to be doing things for and on behalf of the people of the United Kingdom, they're following the agenda of this man, the Great Reset. And well, you can go there and you can read all about it. This isn't a conspiracy theory. They're all in the same globalist club, working out ways on how to destroy the countries from which they come. And it's as simple as that. So what I want to do now is I want to move on to another short clip, just in case that there was any doubt in your mind of who these so-called Conservatives are. Well, Ben Habib, Jim Allister, Kate Hoy, myself, a good school friend of mine, all involved in the protocol case at the Supreme Court on the 30th of November, the 1st of December, just a few weeks away. And well, as we will turn up at the Supreme Court in London to fight against this constitutional changing protocol, that whilst that we're doing that, well, this man's solicitors, Boris Johnson's solicitors, Liz Truss's solicitors from beforehand, well, would you believe that they are fighting against us tooth and nail, even though that the arguments stack up? I mean, I have in my possession the legal arguments in the case made by the constitutional lawyers on our side, and I also have versus the defence that the government are presenting in this case, and believe me, they are defending against the protocol ever being removed. Now listen to what Ben Habib had to tell us last week, and this is something that we never ever knew, and we always get some very good sound bites from Ben. So I want you to listen carefully to what Ben has to say with reference to the Conservative government when he put a deal to Liz Truss, when he put a deal to Boris Johnson. Well, they both refused. They both refused a get out of jail free card, a way out of the protocol in a way that it was legally done. It was through the courts, and the courts could have adjudicated that the protocol is, in effect, it's actually illegal. But it is illegal. It is illegal. And let's just see how the outcome comes, because I happen to believe that the judgment perhaps will be political. But we cross our fingers, and we must not stand back off this case. We have to press forward. And in fact, I'm going to give an exclusive right now, is that if we do not, if we fail in this attempt, we're going again. We're ready to go again. Papers drawn, ready to go again with another case. I can't talk about it right now, but that is what's going to happen if we do not win on the 30th of November and on the 1st of December, coming just at the end of this month. So on that subject, what I would like to do before that I move on is I would like to pop up a little link. Now, this is something that the numbers are quite high from right across the platforms. We're going out to Restore UK on Facebook, the British Unionist People's Voice on Facebook, the YouTube channel Restore UK, and also on to Twitter. So what I would like to do is I would like to ask people if you could help us take a small team to the Supreme Court in London at the end of this month for the purpose of making some videos, reporting on the case, being there in presence. There's people from right around the United Kingdom that's coming to the Supreme Court to give us support. And it's only right that people are there from Northern Ireland in order to be with those people, standing up for the rights of the entire United Kingdom. So, we can't do this alone. And, the more that we would get, the more people that we can take from our team here, say at Restore. So if you can help with our work, and I know that people has already helped to put some money into this, but if you can help, there's a PayPal link there on the Restore UK channel on Facebook, the Restore UK channel that's on YouTube, and also on the British Unionist People's Voice. And you'll find that now in the live chat and all of those 3 channels. And I will be popping it up onto the Twitter channel at a later date. If you can help with this case to get people from here over, with the flights and the stay and everything else, it'll be minimum costs, and everything will be spent in terms of getting the people there, creating a protest at the Supreme Court, and maybe making some videos, maybe outside Westminster and so on, for use at Restore here. If you can do that, help us put whatever you can in. Your help will be gratefully appreciated. So we're at the Supreme Court, the 30th of November, the 1st of December, later on this month. In fact, it's only just a few days away. And we are the last line of defense against this protocol, this constitutional changing protocol, here at Restore UK, along with Ben Habib, Kate Hoey, and Jim Allister. So here's what we're going to do now. We want to play this little clip from Ben Habib, which really tells you what these so-called conservatives, what they actually are. Here we go.
Of not contesting our case. It was put to Boris Johnson, he rejected it. It was put to Liz Truss, she rejected it. And actually, I haven't bothered putting it to Rishi Sunak, because I don't think Rishi Sunak has any intention whatsoever.
But I've got with me the legal arguments that has been made in this protocol case going forward to the Supreme Court, 30th of November, 1st of December, which I'll be there, Ben, and no doubt you'll be there yourself.
Good,
and we've got the government's arguments, or should we say the government's defence against these arguments. And whenever I read these and, went through them in depth, I see huge implications of this protocol having been put into place. And I'm going to state, after having read this, and we're maybe going to go through some of it, is that I believe that the Belfast Agreement is actually unworkable, and it's now not a system which is there to provide a protection to a so-called minority group or to someone who has concern, or to protect against the causes which would have caused the problems in the past here in Northern Ireland. And I believe that it is an absolute constitutional nightmare that we have actually facing us whenever I read these arguments versus the defence that the government is being put forward. And I'm coming to a question here, Ben, but the very fact that the government is defending against what a layman can see here as a huge problem storing up for the future, the fact that our government, the British government, are defending against these arguments, it doesn't leave much hope for the future even of the United Kingdom, Ben.
The easiest way to do away with the protocol, the most expedient, easy, political and legal way to do away with the protocol, which is what the government repeatedly says it wishes to do. It wishes to pass the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill, which fundamentally changes the protocol. If that was genuinely their aim, what they would do is not contest our case. That is the easiest way to do away with the protocol, because if they accepted the arguments that we're making in the case, that the Act of Union's been breached, that the Belfast Agreement's been breached, that the human rights of Northern Ireland have been, British citizens of Northern Ireland have been undermined, the Article 50 process itself has been undermined. If they accepted those arguments, the protocol would automatically become unlawful. And then under Article 46 of the Vienna Convention, the government would, entirely in accordance with international law, be at liberty to terminate the protocol. But it's chosen not to take that path because the government is in bad faith. the government does not want to change the protocol meaningfully. What the government is hoping to do is to patch it up to the extent necessary to mask its most visible impacts and to allow the pernicious undermining of the Constitution of the United Kingdom to go unchecked. I have no doubt about that, because the idea of not contesting our case and having this wonderful get out of jail card, free get out of jail card presented to them was put to Boris Johnson. He rejected it. It was put to Liz Truss. She rejected it. And actually, I haven't bothered putting it to Rishi Sunak, because I don't think Rishi Sunak has any intention whatsoever. Liz Truss was at least on her front foot with the Northern Ireland Protocol bill. Rishi Sunak, I know from reliable sources, was himself against the bill. But the bill is a very weak bill. The Northern Ireland Protocol bill is a very weak bill. And Rishi Sunak was against it. He did not want to ruffle EU feathers, even with this pathetic little bill that is yet to make its way onto the statute books. So the government is not committed to getting rid of the protocol. Anyone who misunderstands that, who buys this narrative from the government, the propaganda, is fundamentally misunderstanding the direction of travel. The government does not wish to change the protocol fundamentally. It keeps talking about negotiations with the EU because it wants to mask the effects of the protocol as far as the public are concerned, and then they'll think they've done their job and they can just get on with business as usual.
So there you go. Hate to be the bearer of the bad news, but the bad news is that unless that we fight this legally, unless that we manage to somehow win on the legal arguments, well, this is going nowhere. The United Kingdom is set to break up under the, well, I call it like a relay race, where we had David Cameron, who was a globalist, who was wanting to stay in the EU, who brought forward the referendum only because UKIP were biting at the Conservative Party's heels and seek to decimate the Conservative Party. He had to offer an EU referendum. Well, he left office whenever he made a mess of things, whenever the people of the United Kingdom spoke. 17.4 plus million people of that United Kingdom said that we do not want to be part of this. We want to take back our laws. We want to take control of our borders. We want to be forging our own way in this world. Again, being an entity which is capable of looking after its own people and serving and protecting its own people. And that's what a government's role actually is. Not a government that would seek to remove your rights as citizens. And that's what they're doing right now in Ireland at the minute. I'm listening to a lady down there with legal, she's a legal, let's just say. And she's talking about the online bill that's coming through down there, which is really going to put in place a scenario whereby that, if you were to say that there's not 101 different genders, or if you misgender someone, or if you see a man that's pretending to be a woman and you speak your mind, well, you could end up in court because of it. And this is the draconian laws that these charlatans behind, at the request of this charlatan here and his cronies, are actually putting in place. No one voted for this. These people are dictators. These people would make, well, Stalin look like a kindergarten nursery attendant. The way that they're operating with their smiley faces, let's just say. So we really need to fight this. We really need to fight these people. We are your last chance at defeating this constitutional changing EU protocol. So again, I'm going to say, if you can help our work, please do, because right now, we're all out of options. We can only try to beat this legally. And if we can, if we win in certain arguments, well, I believe that in the Supreme Court, no matter why these judges find in our favor or not, well, it's going to now expose things for exactly what they are. For example, let's say that they find against us Let's say that Rishi Sunak here does a deal with the EU. Let's say that well, there's still an EU customs and regulatory border left at Larne, at Belfast, and at Mournpoint, separating us in terms of trade from the rest of the United Kingdom. Well, what then is the implication of that? Is that the Act of the Union is destroyed. Article 6 of the Act of the Union, which provides for trade from within the United Kingdom with unfettered access, with no tariffs or bounties, with no regulatory or customs. Well, what actually happens is that is absolutely destroyed. And, you know, as David Trimble would have said, the man who would have negotiated the Belfast Agreement, he said that the Act of the Union is the Union. You destroy that and you are destroying the Union. You allow for the circumstances in where that the Act of the Union is actually demolished. And what happens is that you've destroyed the Union by default. You have put in place the breakup of the United Kingdom in its embryonic form, because once there's a settlement, once this protocol is dealt with, that will be a full and final settlement, and Scotland will demand exactly the same. So we are the front line in this battle to save the United Kingdom. Yeah, that's it. The people at Restore, along with Ben Habib, Kate Hoy, Jim Allister, yeah, we are the last line of defence in that fight, and we'll be at the Supreme Court on the 30th of November and on the 1st of December this year. And believe me, it's not over by a country mile, because if they find against us, well, it opens up so many more avenues in where, well, it's a win-win for us, because it will clearly show in the cold light of day that the Belfast Agreement does not work for Northern Ireland Unionists. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle, and lies. The peace is a farce. The peace has always been a farce. The IRA guns are still there. And London, this is the truth, London is afraid of another bomb scare. And now that we've got people like Rishi, who wants to hand away the money of the United Kingdom to the rest of the world at a time of great crisis here in the United Kingdom, and he wants to cater for the rest of the world in terms of the uncontrolled, uncontrollable, unquantifiable, unidentifiable immigration. Well, with leaders like that, yeah, let's just say this great leader and his United Kingdom will soon be parted. So that's what I wanted to talk about this evening. I wanted to talk about the corruption. Corruption is corruption. What you see on my screen is corruption personified, absolute corruption personified. And they'll not be gun short. They will not be making the choices of whether they need to heat or eat. They will not be, well, faced with the problems on the streets. In Ireland, just last week, it showed you where one of these uncontrolled, uncontrollable, unquantifiable, unidentifiable immigrants was actually grabbing girls on the streets of Killarney, torturing young Irish women, and people had to step in to stop it. You know, they won't be the recipients of the problems that they are creating in our countries, and that is a huge problem. And it needs to stop. It really needs to stop. Thank heavens right now for the Reform Party in the United Kingdom, because I'm going to say that if this continues the way that it's going, the Conservatives' days are numbered, and Labour isn't going to be any better. Let's just say, if you can help our work, please, 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 pop a few pounds into that PayPal. Help take us to that Supreme Court with as many people as possible. The people in England, some friends of ours, are coming to provide a support, to provide a protest, to provide protection for the people that is going to be there. And if you can help our work, please do click on that link and put a few pounds in. If you can't, that's no problem. We will be there anyway. So here's what we're going to do. That it's now around the top of the hour. I've talked about the corruption that exists right across the Western world. I've talked about where this corruption is coming from. This corruption is American driven. You see, America as a superpower are in a diminishing state. They're falling apart. You know, the end of the road is near for them. Now, it just so happens that they control, I'm going to say, the technocracy And what they are trying to do right now is they're trying to take control of things in such a way that they literally they control the world's population. It's the old, there was an old saying from many, many years ago, when they can't really fight things anymore by using an iron fist, they try to do it with a velvet glove. So what you're seeing behind us there is the velvet glove, waffling, telling you lies, pretending that they're fighting for you, pretending that they're standing up for you, whilst that they're letting all and sundry happen. And it is in plain sight. That's the thing. The cat's out of the bag. There's no putting this cat back in the bag again. These people are corrupt. These people are destroying the United Kingdom. These people are destroying Ireland. And again, I say, at the request of people like this and his cronies. So moving on, this is remembrance time. The anniversary of the Enniskillen bomb would have been yesterday, from my recollection. This tomorrow is a time whenever that we remember that there excuse me, there were people in the past that wanted to stand up for the United Kingdom. There are still people that will and does have a great intention with genuine sincerity to stand up for the United Kingdom. And there are people that would actually do what our forefathers done many, many, many years ago. So I thought that it was appropriate that what we do this evening in this last half hour is that we remember some of those people, and we take our hat off. We respect the contributions that our forefathers would have made down throughout the centuries to serve and protect the United Kingdom, to stand between what could have been totalitarianism and, totalitarianism and a sense of normality for the people of the United Kingdom. And these people, there's a phrase that you'll see littered throughout the battlefields around the Somme and on into Belgium, and you'll see this phrase in many, many graveyards. You'll see that greater love hath no man than a man that would lay down his life for his friends, or words to that effect. It's a biblical verse, so it is. And, greater love hath no man than a man that would lay down his life for his friends. So what we want to do is that we want to play something that we did last year. Now, on the back of this is 10 minutes. I'm asking people to tune into this. You're going to learn, for the people that are new on our screen, you're going to learn of something you probably didn't even know about. So last year, we took the liberty to go up into County Fermanagh, Enniskillen. And, who remembers the Enniskillen bomb? The Enniskillen bomb, and where a no-warning bomb was placed at a cenotaph when people were remembering their dead. And, as I talk about this, and I do this every year, and I've done it for the last three years, every time I talk about this, it brings a tear to my eye, because I can remember a time in my life when I was, a young man, an impressionable young man, and I can remember hearing about the Enniskillen bomb, and I can remember thinking, what type of people would actually do that? What type of people would blow up people remembering their dead? Is there no limits to which these people are prepared to stoop? Now, we've seen the IRA in operation. We've seen the murdering children. We've seen baby Adam Jack up in Strabane, Abercorn Square in Strabane, 5 months old, being showered with glass, being obliterated, being perforated with that glass, and being killed to death in an IRA bomb. We've seen the Shankill bomb, a bomb which is really, really close to my heart, in that I lost a man as close as a brother, and his wife and his young child actually in that bomb. And I was there on that day at that event, witnessing the carnage that another IRA bomb actually created. And I can remember saying on that day that this has to stop, that this really, really has to stop, because people are recognizing no boundaries on the depths that they're prepared to stoop in order to get one over on the other community. So it is, excuse me, it's at this time of the year, I've got to compose myself. It's at this time of the year that we remember those people I would like just to play something that we done last year. I'll compose myself, excuse me, and then I'll come back. Enjoy. Okay, so we're here in Tullyhumman village, just outside Kesh in County Fermanagh, and we're here on the eve of the anniversary of the Enniskillen bomb. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that there was two bombs in 1987 when the IRA, they tried to blow up what was a Remembrance Day parade. Now, this little village, I mean, it consists of one street, and it is on the border of Donegal, Pettigo. Just looking down that street and across the river, this is where the Northern Ireland meets the Irish Republic in terms of the Donegal border and into Donegal. Now, on that Remembrance Day in 1987, what actually happened was there was a bomb that was placed here that was bigger, more large than the Enniskillen bomb itself. And we all know what happened in Enniskillen whenever the Enniskillen massacre did occur. But the reality is that in here in Tullyhumman village, if that bomb had went off, well, who would it have blown up? Let's just explain. And there was a handful of military veterans that was here to remember their dead, the war dead, and also there was some boys brigade and some girls brigade that was here, as far as I know, and also there was a pipe band. Now, the reality is that within the boys brigade and the girls brigade, there was a huge amount of children that was here on that day in Remembrance Day to remember the dead. And the reality is that if that bomb had went off, well, the world wouldn't have been talking about Enniskillen on that day. The world actually would have been talking about Tullyhumman.
Down at Tullyhumman was an attempt to murder school children. Children who were attending a Remembrance Boys Brigade. Just children, scouts, whatever, other kids, just from schools, primary school kids, and Republicans attempted to murder them as well. You can never forget that. Horrendous. The thought of even doing it is horrendous.
Incredibly, the bloodshed in the border country could have been even worse. As the dust settled, it became known that Enniskillen was not the only parade in the IRA's sights. A cross-border unit had also targeted a Poppy Day ceremony just 20 miles away in a tiny border village called Tullyhumman.
The target at Tullyhumman would have been the Boys Brigade, the Girls Brigade and the band, and a small number, maybe 3 or 4 members of the security forces who in uniform there to lay a wreath.
But the Boys Brigade and the Girls Brigade consists of little children from the age of 6 upwards.
Yes, but in the eyes of the Provisional IRA they were legitimate targets.
What children of that age?
The purpose of the attack was to attack the Remembrance Day, the establishment and the community in Fermanagh.
The bomb was 4 times the size of the Enniskillen device, but it didn't go off. A tractor is said to have driven over the command wire, thus preventing carnage that may have eclipsed Enniskillen.
Now, again in Tullyhumman, what you'll notice is that the main street is actually just behind us, just literally behind where the camera is here, just a few yards from me. But if you look down this street and you look to where the far grey building is with the white cornerstones on it, yeah, that actually is Donegal, and that is within close proximity to Tullyhumman. That is where the Irish Republic actually is in relation to Tullyhumman in Northern Ireland. So it was quite easy for those people on that day to run a command wire to try to actually to blow to smithereens the people that were here remembering the war dead on that day. If you would just like to zoom down and show exactly how close that this is.
Standing at the wall, children holding hands, people getting ready, the old woman crying, an old man with a memory, together on Remembrance Day. When the wild wind came without a warning, just a sudden flash of light, many there were taken, husbands, children, and a young girl felt her father's touch and her dying word. And her words do more to make us one than 100 years of the bomb and the gun. Let the so-called patriots see what they have done. I let them wake up in the morning to another day of pain. I let them feel the endless heartache that never goes away. I let them hear the voice of millions that said it on that day. I am ashamed to be Irish on Remembrance Day. Standing up, children hand in hand. Another year is over. Perhaps we understand. Words of love are stronger than words of hate. Let us not forget on Remembrance Day. And whatever you believe in, whatever flag you wave, let us not forget on
The building was not searched. I don't know who made that decision, whether that decision was made by REC headquarters or who made that decision. But the building should have been searched. It's in close proximity to the cenotaph, and obviously the bomb was placed in behind the wall, and the whole wall, once the bomb went off, it flew out across the street and out across the people, murdering people. The VIPs appear just shortly, a few minutes before 11 o'clock. And you have all sort of a mixture of ex-service members, members of the public, children, all sorts of people from our society. They're all here gathered round. Every one of the footpaths around here, right round the cenotaph, is full of people. And you can just imagine the scene there at the wall, crowds of people just lined across the footpath, and the bomb goes off and the whole lot comes out across. Brutal.
I mean, did the IRA on that day, did they come across the border, or did they live locally?
Well, they didn't do this without help from local people. We all know who he was, and we know that McGuinness and his team, his comrades were behind him. I was here at that memorial when the actual Senate, or the new memorial was presented, and it had all the names inscribed upon it. Came here in a forklift, and it was taken away in a forklift. No sooner the service was over, it was taken away. It's really sad. The memorial has to go. You know, it's been too long without a memorial in place. and it needs to put where the bomb went off, or as near as possible to where the bomb went off.
And to this day, I don't think anyone's ever been brought to justice over it. Is that right?
Well, as far as I'm aware, no one has ever been interviewed. And I'm getting that information back through my own sources, ex-RUC officers. I don't believe anyone was ever arrested, but no one has ever been brought to justice. I fear that no one will ever be brought to justice, but time will tell. But with the phony peace process that we have in place at the moment, it's a case of who has been putting pressure on who to stop investigations being completed. That's the way it is in Northern Ireland.
After watching something like that, every time that I see that, I've got very many friends that live in Fermanagh, and I've talked to people over the years. Aileen Quinton, we interviewed just a few years ago, who lost her mother in that bomb. And when you hear the human stories of what happened on that day, as I say, I get choked up every single time that I see that. And then today, just today, over the past few days in our media in Northern Ireland today, there's a man called Colin Harvey. Colin Harvey is a professor of law at Queen's University. And he states that, people would use the deaths of maybe people like an Enniskillen for political advantage. Now, that's me paraphrasing on Colin Harvey's words, but we're going to get Colin Harvey's words, and we're going to do a stream about it, and we're going to lay a few home truths to this so-called human rights lawyer, is what I think that he specializes in. A man with a huge bias, a man who wants a United Ireland, a man who would have used the Queen's University logo on a paper that he's written with reference that we all should go into a new Ireland with Micheál Martin, who wants nothing to do with the backward idea of sovereignty. So Colin Harvey, coming soon. We're not picking on you, but we're going to tell you a few home truths with reference friends, perhaps. The friends that I've lost, the people as close to family as me that I've lost, the people that I've seen being lifted out of bombs, like on the Shankill Road. And I get emotional whenever I come to this time of the year because of the people that I have lost at the hands of terrorism. And you have the audacity to say that we would use this for political gain, for political advantage. And that's me paraphrasing. Well, here at Restore, coming very, very soon, is a few home truths for Mr. Colin Harvey, who whinges, who gurns, who goes to the media whenever people are tackling him on his, well, what he did was he brought Queen's University into disrepute. What he did was that he was projecting his own personal views using the Queen's University logo. And well, sure, it doesn't surprise us that Queen's, they were happy enough for this guy, Colin Harvey, to use the logo and not say, well, that's not our opinion. We're a university. We shouldn't be involved in politics. We take an impartial view. We are fair. We are impartial. We are free from partisan political control. We want to be and maintain to be capable of gaining and maintaining the respect of the entire community. But no, this professor from within Queen's, he's taken a one-sided approach to this new Ireland, and Queen's University is happy to let him use their logos. And the media today, the BBC, the Nolan Show, the William Crawley Show, the one before that in the early morning, well, they're promoting that it's all good that Colin Harvey can do that. Well, here at Restore, we don't let people away with things that easily. So remembering Enniskillen, one other thing that I want to pop up here from David Sluman, we have another 15 minutes to go, and we really want to spend this time remembering people that has lost their lives, not in a way that we want to use it for political advantage. We're genuine people. We genuinely want to remember the loss of life that occurred. You know, well, whilst these evil terrorists, whilst these terrorist criminals were, well, they were freeing Ireland one child at a time. And we'll get into that in a moment. But anyway, from David Sluman, tribute to Reverend Robert Bradford, MP, on Saturday, the 14th of November, 1981, murdered by the Provisional IRA. Robert's great vision of a coming together of the whole Unionist family, a kindly man, full of Ulster humour, with the sanctity and power of Christian grace. I can remember that very, very well, David, the Reverend Robert Bradford. I can remember it was a very, very sombre time from right across the entire Unionist community. And it turns out that, well, would you believe it, a man in the pay of the British intelligence, well, I believe that he had a great hand in this actual murder. And would you believe, David, and the reason why that, I popped it up, and I was going to pop it up anyway, but we have one of our researchers here in the background, and he has put together the entire story of the Robert Bradford case. And we hope to do some interviews, and we hope to talk to people that no one has actually heard with reference what happened on that day and who he actually seen, a well-known figure at the end of a gun shooting at Robert Bradford. So coming soon to Restore UK, we will talk about that. So we will. So that's something for people to look forward to. Now, a few other things that I really want to do is that I want to now, you see, look at me at the start of playing that Enniskillen trip when I was that Enniskillen the little documentary thing that we did last year. And, you know, whenever I start to talk about the Shankill bomb, I choke up. And I choke up because I remember my good friend and a man like a brother who lived with me from I was very, very young, who grew up with me, who worked with me, who worked in our family business. And, you know, Michael Morrison. He lost his life in the Shankill bomb along with his wife, Evelyn, and little Michelle, the daughter. And what was their crime? Their crime was that they were out to buy a wreath for Michael's father, who had died, you know, and they just happened to walk into the place next door to Frizzell's fish shop, and they were blew to smithereens, you know. So it makes me kind of emotional, let's just say, to remember that. But what I want to do, and a lot of people will know this, is that we used to do a lot of work there with the South East Fermanagh Foundation, and we used to tell the victims' stories. I had to say that whilst it was a very, very good thing to do, I was probably the wrong man for it, because many a times whenever I was talking to people, I do, when you see the human suffering, you know, you can't help but get emotional. whenever you hear what it is that they went through, what happened to them. So I'm just going to pick a few people here over the course of the next 10 minutes. They're very, very short clips. They're only 2 minutes clips. And we're going to remember these people. We're going to remember their loss. We're going to remember the loss of their family members, or maybe the bomb that they've been in. And what I want to do is just to occupy and fill this screen. I want to play these losses in a way that we remember the losses to these people on this special time, remembrance, over the course of Remembrance Week, let's just say. So I'm looking for an appropriate one to play. And yeah, here's one from a man called Neil Tattersall. Now, I'm not coming. We'll let Neil tell his own story in the way that Neil actually needs to tell it. So I'll be back after this short clip.
As I was saying, like, we didn't think for 1 minute that anything was going to happen. We thought we were going to get a 3 day off work, you know. And then, as I say, I was sat on the wall, and I jumped down off the wall, and as I turned around, that's when the bomb went off. And I actually thought the bomb was in the building, and I later found out that the bomb was behind the wall that I was sat on. So how I got off that, before it went off, I don't know. And then just pandemonium. The building just came crashing down on top of us. And instinctively, the thing to do was to cover your head. But then, obviously, I felt an almighty thud in the bottom of my back. It's like somebody had really punched me hard in the bottom of my back. And I just saw people running, so I thought, well, that's what I've got to do. I managed to get up onto my feet, but I couldn't get even 2 steps away. And I just froze and I couldn't move. Two people came on either side of me and started dragging me off. And then the police took over, and I was outside Lloyd's Bank, but they couldn't move me any further than that. And then one of the police officers actually took whatever was in my back out my back. And then a bomb disposal guy came down, and he said that there was a bomb inside Lloyd's Bank, and that would move away from the scene. So the police responded, we're not leaving because, we're not leaving him. And his response was, well, leave him because he's dying anyway, you know. And obviously hearing that wasn't a very good thing, you know. They couldn't get an ambulance in to see me because the place was all sealed off. And eventually one of the police officers went off and brought an ambulance in with the crew. He said that they would come in and get me. And then obviously I was rushed into Manchester Royal Infirmary.
Now, that was a man called Neil Tattersall that we would have interviewed on Forgotten Voices Media with reference what it was that happened to him. And again, we remember Neil and the victims of that bomb on that day way back in times gone by. So next, what we're going to do is we're just going to use this few minutes to remember a few of these victims. Now, here's one that really touched me, and I can remember that he gave me a statement to read out on his behalf as a promo, and he says that he was blown up by people he didn't know from a land that he had never been. I want you to listen to James's story. It's James, I can't remember, it'll be on the screen, so I think it's James Legar, is it? Yeah, might be, but anyway, it'll be on the screen. Here we go.
I was 21 when it happened. It was our first tour. Well, it was my first tour of I think our 18-month stint.
Sorry, I had to stop that one. I played the wrong one. That was James Leatherbarrow. It was this other man that I wanted to play first, but we'll come back to James in a second. So here's a man, as I say, that he was blown up by people that he didn't know from a land that he had never been. Listen very, very careful to this story.
We were coming off the Tower of London Guard. So with the Tower of London being so far away from Chelsea Barracks, we had to get transport. We couldn't actually physically march back. However, the Buckingham Palace detachment, they actually were on the coach as well, because we call it a wet dismount. While it was raining, you have to get the transport back. You can't physically march back because the rain will ruin your equipment. As we got to the Newbury Bridge Road, luckily or unluckily for us, the lights changed in our favour. So we beat the Buckingham Palace detachment coach onto Newbury Bridge Road. The idea being is that we could get our weapons back into the armoury, we could get changed, and my brother was waiting for me. My brother also served in the Irish Guards, and we were going to go and watch Everton against West Ham. Obviously that didn't happen. As we turned into Newbury Bridge Road and we passed this laundry van, the IRA had set it off by remote control. We're talking about nails and bolts. I don't know if you're aware, but what they'd actually done, somebody had taken the time to bend some of the 6-inch nails into boomerang shapes, so bent them in half. So when the explosion went, it was the idea that the nails would spin through the air and rip through people, causing as much injury and death as possible. So as we come and we pass the laundry van, obviously they set it off by remote control. So I was really badly injured. A 6-inch nail was buried across my head here, but luckily enough didn't penetrate my head, but it was embedded into my head. The top of my nose was hanging off. One of the officers who visited me in hospital said it was like looking at the top of a boiled egg. As you take the top of a boiled egg off, that was my nose. My face was smashed to pieces. I've got a concrete jaw in. I had a 6-inch nail, penetrated my neck, went through my body and got stuck halfway in and halfway up my back. But luckily enough for me, it didn't touch any of my vital organs. So I've been really, really fortunate. And then my left hand was up against my face. So obviously I'm on the coach coming back, and I've got metal in 3 fingers, wires in 3 fingers. I've lost the top of my little finger and I can't bend 2 of my joints. Not only that, I had a big charter glass went through my right eye, which has rendered me blind in my right eye. And the blast being so loud and me being next to it, my eardrum was completely shattered. Now, you can get a perforated eardrum, which is the size of a pinhole. However, my eardrum was obliterated. So St. Thomas's Hospital built up another eardrum for me, made up from membrane from inside my head. So I am extremely lucky to be here, and every day for me is a new start and a blessing, because other people obviously aren't here any longer.
Now, I want to play 3 more of those short clips, and then we're going to end our screen. And, you know, again, this is a message to Colin Harvey, and this is something that we're going to cut, we're going to clip, we're going to put on Twitter, we're going to tag him into, and we're going to ask, well, okay, so you think that we play these clips because that we want to score political points? I'm asking you, Colin, to watch these people, real human suffering, and then remember, it is you, not us, who has aligned with the people that would have caused these problems, that would have meted out these crimes against humanity, that would have murdered these men, women, and children. You support them. You stand for the same thing as they do. Synonymous with IRA terrorism is a New Ireland. Synonymous with IRA terrorism is a tricolour. Synonymous with IRA terrorism is the same thing that you are fighting for. So we'll take no lectures from you, Colin Harvey. The Shankill bomb. Pay some thoughts to what happened on that day.
They parked at the side of the church, and outside the church that day there was 2 junior football teams. So they walked with this bomb through a crowd of junior footballers, right past the greengrocers and into the face shop. And before they could get putting the bomb down, the bomb exploded, killing one of the bombers, seriously injuring the other. It was a naked sectarian attack, and this was confirmed by the police.
What I can remember, Gary, that day, I mean, I was on the scene within probably 15 minutes, and I can remember looking at the bomb, and one of the things that really struck me was how that the roof of the building was still hanging by a thread, really. And yet, you know, people like yourself and people like our good friend here, Jim Werner, who joins our feed, I mean, you were all in under that roof, and I mean, you were selfless because you weren't really caring about the building falling on you when you were digging through the rubble. Can you maybe tell me a wee bit about doing that? I mean, what did that feel like to be digging through and finding body parts and bodies?
It'll stick with me till the day I die. But there was another almighty crack. But what it was, as you mentioned, the roof had just managed to stay up, but it was the crack of the beam. But everyone thought it was a second bomb and started squealing. And everyone till a man that was inside the building that day just stayed with no thoughts for a second bomb. And you were digging and you were finding things that nobody should have ever found. The police and the firemen and the emergency service just hadn't arrived at that time with some of the stuff was found. You were just trying to cover it up with your t-shirt, or you were taking your own clothes off. There's many bombs that went off across the UK and Northern Ireland during the Troubles, but very, very few places was hit like the Shankill Road. If you take it less than a mile from the original first bomb, would have been a furniture shop in the 70s, to the Mountain View Bar, which is what maybe a stretch of road about a quarter of a mile. There was 6 bombs went off. It was all targeted at the Shankill community by the IRA, and a naked sectarian campaign, basically.
What really annoys me at the minute is that how they're permitted to get away with rewriting history, as if, on one hand, here we have these Irish freedom fighters who are fighting some sort of honourable war, but this is the reality. And for you, Colin Harvey, just in case that you think that we're being sort of, well, they're not balanced in our approach, well, let's just show another victim on the other side of the border in the Irish Republic, a man that was in the Irish Army. That was the state Irish Army. And what happened? He was murdered. He was murdered along with a young Garda when he was out to save an Irish citizen from being kidnapped by these evil criminal terrorists. Watch this story, Colin. You're a victim, a real life victim. You probably are traumatized and re-traumatized by some of the actions of these people even today, and their lack of remorse, I guess, for what had happened. I mean, David, what exactly are you fighting for? You know, is it truth? Is it justice?
Well, I guess I would have, see, as a reaction to what happened to us, me and my family, my mother and my younger brothers, we all moved to London. So we were sort of out of the picture in our formative years. But I returned as a young man, and I looked around and said, you know, who killed my father, you know? And how is my father being remembered, or is he just going to be forgotten completely? You know, a footnote in the history books. And then as I made more and more inquiries into what happened to my father, I was saying someone should be held to account, and I was thinking along the lines of, yes, someone in a court of law being found guilty. So, you know, that's where I would have been coming from. In more recent years, like it's 37 years this year since it happened. I'm not so much interested in someone serving a prison sentence, to be honest, at this stage, but it's more to just have someone held accountable in some form, whether it's in a criminal or civil court, or there's a public inquiry. I know there's other methods like coroner's court and so forth. It's just to have someone held to account, so it should be remembered in the history books of what actually happened on that day, and there could be no muddying of the waters. I mean, for years, what I call the Provisional Republican Movement, which includes Sinn Féin, would have spread the malicious rumours that my father was actually killed in a friendly fire incident, and it was all covered up by the authorities. So that's a constant lie I've had to deal with for years. You know, so that's where I'm at. It's just getting that truth out there, I reckon the sacrifice my father made, like, so that, like, we don't have a state, we don't get to a point like where you have elected TDs walking around Dáil Éireann actually saying that the provisional IRA armed struggle was legitimate and nobody actually countering them. I'm here to say, hold on, what about my father and the young Garda and the others who were killed, the other members of the Irish security forces and civilians? Their lives mattered, and you'd be spitting on their graves if you don't stand up and speak on their behalf when these people make their ludicrous claims. The army, in collaboration with the council, put up a lovely memorial plaque for my father, a memorial stone, I should say, and it's lovely, but only a short distance away is a memorial to an IRA hunger striker, Kieran Hurtson. So every time I stand and admire my father's stone, but then only a matter of yards away is a memorial stone to a man from the organisation that murdered my father. So, like, I'm reminded every time I see that. I'm also reminded, like last year, I had the president of Sinn Féin. She said the legitimate armed struggle was justified, and that if she had been a bit older and had lived in Northern Ireland, she would have joined up as a volunteer. And for me to hear a leading Irish politician say that was re-traumatizing for me.
For Mr. Colin Harvey, for Queen's University, who would permit Colin Harvey to use their name to promote a so-called New Ireland. What about those victims? We're not using those victims to score political points. These are real life stories. You just heard David there as he wants justice for his father, Paddy, who was in the Irish Army. He was shot along with a young Garda. And they were out trying to save an Irish citizen from the hands of these IRA terrorists. They had kidnapped a businessman called Don Tidy, and they were held out in the forest. And, well, it transpired that these murdering scum, well, they murdered an Irish citizen, freeing or creating a new Ireland by murdering 2 Irish citizens in that very case. So anyway, we've came to the end. We're remembering all of those people. There was many, many more that I could have played, but we're not going to prolong this stream. So back to the theme of what it was that we were presenting this evening is corruption. And that's no matter where that corruption comes from, no matter why that it's from Rishi here, no matter why it's from Michael, who wants nothing to do with the backward idea of sovereignty, no matter why it's this man who's involved in a great reset. He's like a real life Bond villain who literally, these two are in his club. And then we'll move to the other side here. What way do we do this? We do this way. So we have Leo, who takes over as Taoiseach, I think, come December. And we have desperately seeking Simon Coveney. As you know, that Simon and his arm of the Irish government and the subsidiary, which is G2 Military Intelligence, well, they have been involved in interfering in elections here in Northern Ireland. They have been involved in causing divisions between unionist parties, namely the DUP and the UUP. They have been involved in trying to divide constitutional unionism against non-constitutional unionism, and we have their document to prove that. We showed that just a few weeks ago. So corruption is corruption, no matter where that corruption comes from. We have the illusion of democracy if we leave it to our politicians. We will not have justice in terms of we've been denied our vote in the Brexit referendum. We've been separated from the United Kingdom. We have a border in the North Channel, the Irish Sea. We are second-class citizens when we leave it to these people. So As the last line of defense against this constitutional changing protocol, again, I appeal that if you can help our work, I'm going to go to the comments and we're going to pop this back in again. And I'm going to ask that if you can help our work, please do so by going to one of the PayPal links at the British Unionist People's Voice, at Restore UK on YouTube, and also at Restore UK on Facebook. And if you can help, no matter how small that amount is, well, the more money that is put into that account, the more people we will be able to take to the Supreme Court with us to show a presence, to literally to cheerlead against the constitutional changing protocol being overturned in this last line of defence, which is ordinary people from Restore UK, Ben Habib, Jim Allister and Kate Hoey, all going to be present on the 30th of November and the 1st of December, which is just a few weeks away. So people, thanks very much for coming along. It was a very, very important stream to do. It was very, very important that we got that remembrance in. It was very, very important that the bit at the end of this stream, which I'm going to cut, which I'm going to use to place on Twitter and to encourage this guy, Colin Harvey, to come and talk to us here at Restore. And how dare he say that we would use victims as a means to score political points? And that's me paraphrasing. How dare he say that? There are people in this country that has suffered, that doesn't want to see suffering, because that we're against this constitutional changing protocol, because that we're against this appeasement process, which is the Belfast Agreement and all that flows from it, because that we see that this appeasement process does not work for British Unionists here in Northern Ireland, because that we see that, because that we oppose this, doesn't mean to say that we don't desperately want peace, but not peace at any price. Not peace by losing our constitutional status from within the United Kingdom. Not peace in having our birthright taken away. Not peace by joining a 32-county socialist, Marxist, vile place of a Republic of Ireland. As in the words of Ian Paisley, never, never, never. Good night, people. Thanks very much for coming along. If you can help with our work by putting a few pounds into that PayPal link, as I say, all monies from slightly in the past and anything that goes into that account will be used for going to the Supreme Court, taking people to the Supreme Court, paying for flights, paying for places for people to stay over. We're probably going to be over a 4-day period, and we'll bring you lots of news and views and sights and sounds and interviews from London, from our friends in the United Kingdom. We will be standing together as one United Kingdom. And let me just tell you a slight story before that we go, and we're going to play us out with 2 little songs. When we had sat down to plan the Supreme Court case way back before that the protocol came into being, we were going to launch from 4 places in the United Kingdom: England, Scotland, Wales and in Northern Ireland. And in fact, we had protests in all places as a result of some of the associations that we have. And now circumstances overtook in that Boris Johnson delivered somewhat Brexit for England, Scotland and Wales. So we were then faced that we could only launch from Northern Ireland in terms of the Supreme Court case. So we are the front line of defence against this constitutional changing protocol. Not only are we the front line of this battle, but we are the last line of defence also to save the United Kingdom. Now, if we are triumphant in this case, well, it will have been people, ordinary people, not politicians, who decided to take this case, and who is either going to be triumphant when the outcome is delivered, probably somewhere in February of 2023, thereabouts. So we're either going to be triumphant, or we're going to have opened up another can of worms in where that is going to open up a huge amount of areas in where that there will be many, many, many cases coming down the line of the charlatans that you see behind us. And I say charlatans plural, because that'll give you a little hint as to who that it is that we're going after next. Thanks very much for coming along. we're going to plan this out with a couple of little things. And I think that it was remembrance, and we should be really playing it with an Abide With Me or something like that. But I think that there is a question to be asked, really. And that question is, it's what about us? What about the people of Northern Ireland? What about all the times that the politicians said they had the answer? What about us? Do we not matter? Are we second-class citizens? People, thanks very much for coming along, and I'll see you all next time.
We are searchlights we can see in the dark. We are rockets pointing up at the stars. We are billions of beautiful hearts. And you sold us down the river too far. What about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happy ever afters? Oh, what about us? What about all the plans that ended in disasters? What about love? What about trust? What about us? We are problems that want to be solved. We are children that need to be loved. We were willing, we came when you called. Enough is enough. Oh, what about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happy ever afters? Oh, what about us? What about all the plans that ended in disaster? What about love? What about trust? What about us? Sticks and stones, they may break my bones, but then I'll be ready. Are you ready? It's the start of us waking up, come on. Are you ready? I'll be ready. I don't want control, I want to let go. Are you ready? I'll be ready. 'Cause now it's time to let them know we are ready. What about us? What about all the times you said you had the answers? What about us? What about all the broken happy ever after? Oh, what about us? What about all the plans that ended in disasters? What about love? What about trust? What about us? What about love? What about trust? What about us?
I looked outside. What did I see? A little bird. He looked at me. I lured him close. With a piece of bread. And then I smashed. His little head. The moral of the story is. You want some head. You need some bread. Right turn. Huh.
broken land. Show breaks the love to keep us together.
I looked outside. What did I see? What did I see? A little bird. A little bird. He looked at me. He looked at me. I lured him close. I lured him close. With a piece of bread. With a piece of bread. And then I smashed. And then I smashed his little head.